Hello artists! Today we're going to finish designing our cakes and then we will talk about adding color. So we're going to go from this sketchbook practice to something more like this. To do that, we're going to need something called value. It is one of our elements of art and it is pretty much essential to turning simple flat shapes like this circle into a 3D sphere. When you start to add highlights and shadows to an object, you really need to think about where is the light source coming from. With this sphere, it seems like the light might be coming from the top right of the sphere, which is why that area is so bright. And then the cast shadow is leaning towards the left in the opposite direction. An artist who's really skilled at using value can make objects look so 3D, it's like you can pick them up and take them right out of the artwork. Can you guess which direction the light was shining on these objects in this still life drawing? Or how about here with these shoes? Notice how there isn't just one shade of gray. There is a huge range of lights to darks. And value doesn't have to just be done with black, white, and gray. You can use color to show value as well, like what we saw in Wayne Thiebaud's artwork. Like in this painting he did of rows and rows of cake slices. You can notice that on the left side of the cake slices, Wayne Thiebaud used a lighter yellow than he did on the right side. So wherever the light source was coming from, whether it was a window or a light on the wall or on the ceiling, it must have been shining on these cakes from the left side. Or when you look at these ice cream cones, do you notice how the scoops look like actual spheres of ice cream rather than just like a flat circle of color? Even though they're a little bit like melty and droopy looking, they do look like that 3D sphere that I showed you earlier. So no matter what color you want your cake to be or how you want to decorate it, we should still see a sense of value and that you're putting your highlights and your shadows in a spot that makes sense. So the first thing I do on my gray paper, once I'm done drawing, is I'm going to draw a little arrow that just kind of shows me where my light source is. And that's going to guide me as I use my oil pastels. So we're going to start with the outer frosting of your cake. You can choose any color you'd like. I'm choosing to do mine purple. You're going to color the whole top of your cake, whatever color you picked, and then you're also going to blend some white on top. And that will create a highlight for the top of our cake, almost like there's a light shining down on it. And you want to press hard with these. They should feel smooth and slick on your paper, and you can use your finger to help blend them and make them look even nicer. If it doesn't blend easily, then maybe add some more oil pastel on top. Next, you're going to use the same color and color the side of your cake, the outer side. And then if the light is shining from the right side, like in my example, then that side is also going to get some extra white on top. The opposite side, you'll add a little bit of black too, and that's going to create your shadows. Blend with your finger and feel free to add more on top and layer, especially if it's not blending smoothly, or if you're like, ooh, I want to make this shadow more dramatic. Add a little bit more black on top. Or, oh, I made that highlight a little bit too bright. You can add some more of your cake color on top to sort of balance it out. So the side of the cake should look like a smooth transition from light purple, or whatever color you picked, light to medium to dark, and kind of like a value scale, like what we saw before. And then you'll use your fingers to blend it and smooth it out. For the inside part of your cake, like the area where the slice was removed, I recommend choosing colors that you haven't used for the outer part of your cake. Here I'm using a dark blue and a beige, and you're gonna color it in, but then you also still need to think about, well, where would my shadows be? Where would my highlight be? For mine, I kind of felt like the shadows would be near towards the center of the cake, almost like the back of the cake was kind of blocking the light from reaching that part of the cake. So I added just a little bit of black, and then I'm blending with my finger in kind of that downward direction, just like kind of the same direction my parallel lines were moving in when I drew my cake. Again, if your shadows look too dramatic, add some more of your color on top. If it looks like, you want to make the highlights a little bit more noticeable, then put some more white on top. You can definitely work in layers. Feel free at this point to add any extra decorations, frosting around the edge, sprinkles, things like that. For the next part, we'll also start coloring objects on your table or in your background. But one thing that you'll need to think about too is a cast shadow, the shadow that is being cast by the objects in your picture. So for me, I'm coloring my plate in white, but then I'm gonna grab a black oil pastel and I'm gonna lightly draw what I think kind of the shape of my cake shadow would be. And since my light source is, top right of my cake, then that tells me my shadow should be sort of like leaning slightly to the left. So that's why I drew it like that. And then even though I'm not really mixing colors here, it's always nice with oil pastels to blend it with your finger and smooth it out. I'm so excited to see your cakes, and I can't wait to finish these with you next week.